And we're live.
Are we? Welcome, everyone.
Good morning, Philippe.
Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Rick. All right, I see our instance. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're calling in from or where you are joining us from. We have different stake pool operators today, which is going to be fun. Rick, do you want to wait a few seconds for people to come in? Or do you want to just go?
It was a very short notice, so I just want to get the notice out. Oh, one thing I didn't do is I did not put it out on the Twitter, so I'll take a moment to get that up on Twitter.
Okay, that sounds good. Ogie Drums, hello. Don Cardano. Srinivas, hello. I hope that everyone caught Rick's live stream yesterday with Charles and Kyle. That was fun. ASO from Munich. Don Cardano. Moshi, we're going to start momentarily. Nico, Rich, James. Rick is just posting this to Twitter, and we're going to start as soon as he does that. All the new delegators out there, be prepared to put your questions in the chat. We're going to try to get to as many as possible. We also have some questions from Reddit. We have a question list that we're going to go through, and we can obviously deviate from that list. Creole, good morning. King Cardano, welcome back. Kaizen Crypto, Pratesh, how are you doing?
It looks good.
Amanda, someone said that you're sitting on a throne.
I love my chair. It's so comfortable.
It's the captain's chair.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready to go, Rick?
Yes, sir. Ready to go.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Episode 104 of the Cardano Effect. We're in Epoch 215. Rick, how you doing this morning? What's going on? What's happening?
Hey, not much, Philippe. We have our stake pool operators here with us today to answer questions about staking. There's many different wallets out there, many different methods of performing staking, and that's what we're here to talk about today to answer everybody's questions. And we have some from Reddit, some from Telegram, and we'll have a lot in the chat. So I would like to start off with thanking the Cardano Foundation for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you very much. We appreciate your support. It helps us bring guests, podcast or pool operators, and bring community members onto podcasts for the Cardano community. So thank you for the sponsorship. We appreciate it. And Philippe, is there any news or anything like that we want to touch on before we get into the frequently asked questions, or is this a dive right in way of doing it?
We can dive right in, but there was an article posted. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was a taxation-related article from the Cardano Foundation. So the Cardano Foundation is part of an organization called the Proof of Stake Alliance, and they amalgamate a lot of different blockchain projects. All of them pool their resources together, and they, buy the support of lobbyists. They talk to congressional members, and they really push tax-friendly legislation forward. So there was recently a letter penned to the IRS basically advocating that staking rewards should not be taxed. When this is going to actually be implemented, or if it's going to pass, probably not. It's probably going to be a while before this even goes through, but it's good to see that they're starting to put their feet forward, and these kind of things that advocate for a much healthier ecosystem are in the forefront of things. And I know the US tax situation with crypto is very convoluted, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, that's the news. You can check it out on the Cardano forum if you're not familiar with it, forum.cardano.org. Rick?
I'm glad to see they're cutting down on the number of taxes in crypto, because it's almost it's almost unsustainable to every time you convert from one to another, you get taxed. It also depends on where you live. You make a trade, you get taxed. Everything you do, you put a little tax on there. So I'm glad to see that legislation is getting moved forward. It will take a while though. So
yes.
but glad to have it going. All right.
So Rick,
I would like to welcome our pool operators. I'm sorry, Philippe, go ahead.
No, I was gonna. Yeah, that's fine.
No, go ahead. You got it.
Yeah. So we have some new pool operators today. So we have Amanda, William, and then Umed. Umed is returning, of course. So Amanda, how are you doing today? What's going on? Where are you calling in from? Can you tell us a little bit about your pool?
Yeah, so I'm calling in from Korea. It's almost 1:30 a.m. here, so I'm quite tired. But yeah, thanks for inviting me on here. My pool is Deadpool, and I'm kind of new to this space, but I really enjoy the community, and I believe in what the Cardano is doing, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I look forward to other things I can do for the community as well.
Okay, sounds good. William, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm from Colorado. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, and found out about the Cardano project back in January, and had been trading Ethereum, Bitcoin, and then saw the whiteboard from Charles, and definitely dove in head first. Started learning how to build the stake pool, and just been having a blast with the community so far.
Okay, and your ticker is Sage?
Sage, yes.
Okay, and Umed, back. You want to give a quick introduction for all those who don't know you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be back, guys. And my name is Umed. I am the owner and the operator of Skylight Pool. You've seen me in the Cardano effect before, and I write extensively about the stuff that we are about to discuss. The rewards, the mechanism. Usually, I post my articles on my on the Reddit, on Cardano Reddit. But you can find them on my pool's webpage too. Great to be here. Would love to dive into these questions and answer them.
All right. Thank you to the three of you. Rick, do you want to start us off with some questions?
Yeah, so we're going to start with the basics. And the very first one is kind of like straightforward. To stake my ADA, do I have to move them from a Byron wallet to a Shelley wallet? Is that correct?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is there any reason for that? Why do I got to do that?
So back in Epoch 208, that was the hard fork combinator event where we went from Byron to the Shelley side. And from that point in time, we have a new address. You needed to transfer your ADA from a legacy wallet to the Shelley wallet.
Okay, thank you. And that's important. And you can tell the difference between them, usually in Yoroi and Daedalus, which leads us to the next question here. So the next question was, which wallet should I use, Daedalus or Yoroi? What do you guys think?
I don't know. I use Daedalus. I'm not really too familiar with Yoroi. So I really feel that it's kind of your personal preference. Daedalus was a little slow before, but not anymore. So I don't have any problems using Daedalus.
Both of them have their advantages, and I actually opened both wallets in both locations. So you can play around in Daedalus, see how it works. Daedalus has its own ranking mechanism for staking purposes. And then the Yoroi side has ADA pools plugged in. And so there's different layouts. Certainly one you'll gravitate towards, but both of them work perfectly well and nice and safe.
Have you found any pros and cons between the two? Like, what is your favorite thing about Daedalus? And then what is your favorite thing about Yoroi? Let's start with Daedalus. What's your favorite part about your Daedalus? Is it the pools, the GUI, the interface?
Well, I really like that bull. It was from the early days. I really like the design of how it's been thought through. And that's just the aesthetics right now. But there's a second layer that actually, if you really want to run your own node and know that, you're not depending on somebody else's node running for you, and helping the ecosystem that way, maybe, Daedalus could be your thing too.
That's a good point. It's a full client. So you have the whole blockchain downloaded, whereas the Yoroi, you're accessing on the web, the client from that side. So,
Okay, which kind of leads to the second half of that two-part question is, what are the pros of Yoroi? What's the benefit? What's your favorite part about it?
personally, for me, I think Adapool's Pool Tool, Cardano Scan, they've all done a really good job helping break down various pools and how you might want to filter through who you may want to select to delegate to. Specifically, Yoroi, the thing that I like is they've integrated with Adapool's very clean interface for sure.
So I have a question about Yoroi because I don't use it. And since you have some experience, I may ask you, William, can you see the pool sizes, like the active stake in Yoroi?
So if you go into Yoroi, when you're in the delegation center, basically open adapools.org. It looks almost identical. They have a little bit of a truncated view, but you can scroll across.
Okay. And there's a very relevant question that came up in the chat from James Keever. And he says, curious about Yoroi's ability to track rewards for tax purposes. Daedalus doesn't have that feature. Is Yoroi any better? I haven't seen a tax feature tracking purpose in Yoroi, but there are quite a few more features in Yoroi today than there was a year ago. That's for sure. I didn't see a tax feature tracking in Yoroi, but I did see an epic by epic tracking feature. My favorite feature in Yoroi is it works with my Trezor. So
Like you're in love with the Trezor.
I love it, man.
Yeah. I prefer Ledger, but
It's Tamagotchi.
I have to say that, when what was it, a year ago or 2 years ago, when I talked to Nico, who's part of Amurgo, and he said that he definitely wants the taxation or the tracking feature there too, because he wants to be able to sort of claim whatever he got in taxation. So I'm thinking maybe, if not now, it will come to Yoroi soon, probably.
Well, April 15th next year, one of us will probably create it if it's not already there.
There is a staking rewards feature in the Stake Pool Delegation Center where you can see all your amalgamated ADA rewards in Daedalus. But if people are waiting for like some sort of individualized tax-based solution to come out of Daedalus or Yoroi, you're probably going to be waiting a long time because once again, this is a decentralized cryptocurrency. There are people invested all over the world and taxes vary from various different jurisdictions. So what features you should be expecting is just ways to count how much stake that you've received or how much rewards you've received. That's, I think, what people should be anticipating more than individualized tax-based solutions.
Yes, I wanted to clarify this, Philippe, since I used to run a wealth management company. I will tell you that you would need to at least have how much stake you got, how much rewards you got, at what date. Those are the two things you need, because then you will tie in the price and that would give you the taxable base. So again, this is not tax advice, but as a minimum, you have to have that in order to actually produce that taxable base report for your taxing authorities. And from there, you have your own individual tax rates.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm glad you phrased it that way, you meant, because we often get the question, people will ask us at the Cardano effect and say, can you bring on someone to talk about taxes? And that's a kind of a hazardous thing for us to do because the taxes they talk about might only apply to one country or one state. It has the rest of the world, it doesn't apply to them.
Yeah, I mean, there are countries where you can just basically say, I have this lump sum of ADA that I received over years, over months. And the taxation regime might be very lenient and tell you, okay, you can just average the price, right? And if you choose to average the price, it might be advantageous for you than to record the price at the time of receipt. So those kind of things will have to be taken into consideration when the people who are filing the taxation, the tax reports, are doing it with their tax attorneys or whoever. But at a minimum, you need to, at least I would expect that you would need to have the date of receipt and then the amount, because then you can tie in the price.
Yeah.
You can look it up on the exchange at that point.
And I think the important part as it relates to Daedalus right now in front of us is, have you ever tried the export CSV feature in Daedalus?
Not yet.
It
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't do much for you, does it?
No.
It just prints
doesn't
out. What's it do?
It doesn't split up the epochs, so it just adds it. So each epoch, if you don't time it correctly between epochs, you won't know how much you got for individual epochs. So they need to work on that, because that would be a good feature.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Right now, it's not useful. It's not.
yeah, it's
You
not
would
useful.
have to, every 5 days, you'd have to go, okay, hit it, click.
Yeah.
So, all right, we ready to roll to the next question?
Let's
we wanna
go.
check that. Okay. Oh, the next one is about the wallets still. Is the Daedalus upgrade forced, and is the Yoroi upgrade automatic? So what about the Daedalus upgrade? How does that work? Who wants to talk about that?
If I recall, I had to go to the website to click the download for the upgrade.
You get this banner across the top of the Daedalus wallet.
Yep.
And it'll just give you an indication that there's a new one available. Got to go to their website. You can download it, verify the checksum if you want.
And what happens if you don't upgrade? Will it continue to function, or will it malfunction? I think that's what this person was asking. This one was from the tech support channel, I think.
One time that I tried not to update it, it wouldn't work. It would just basically keep popping up and ask me to download the new version. But I think that was a couple of versions back, so I don't know if they changed that mechanism.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's forced because the requirement to upgrade is encoded in the blockchain.
Okay, so it wouldn't work. Okay.
Yeah. And I think the reason for that is, like, if it ever, I don't know why, but if it ever has to work with something else, then you have to be upgraded for it to work with that something
Okay.
else, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's a nice security feature. Actually, if there are some things that in the new release are crucial, then you do not want your network to be running on the old software.
Yeah, or if it burns your laptop up, but the latest one's running great.
I remember the one where you had to wait like overnight to sync 1%.
Yep.
And I
It's
have a really
amazing.
good connection at home, But,
It's amazing now. I mean, it's like 15 seconds literally on mine.
it almost doesn't feel like Daedalus, because you kind of open it up with the expectation that it will take a few hours, right? And then it's just done. You're like, oh wow, it's like Daedalus that behaves like Yoroi, which is kind of a new experience for a lot of people, I think, in
It
terms of
is.
speed.
It's fantastic. Now, the second half of that question was, is the Yoroi upgrade automatic, or how does that work?
From my experience on Yoroi, Chrome extension seems to automatically update so far, and I haven't had to manually update on Yoroi.
Okay, and if it doesn't automatically update, you can go to a website to download it. Now, what's the hazards of navigating to a website to download the wallet? Wow, there's a lot of them. So always make sure you're on the right website, because there are scam websites out there. Philippe and I usually do a scam disclaimer at the beginning and say, watch out for scams. Don't go to unknown web links and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, make sure you're on the right web link. All right, just Philippe, did you want to pick up the next questions? Do you
Yeah,
have them there? I still have them.
definitely. Rick, I think this question is for you, because you've made a video on your personal channel about this, and I get a lot of personal questions about, when do you get your ADA rewards? Because people delegate and they're expecting to get their rewards at the end of the next epoch. I don't know if you want to introduce it, or if someone wants to jump in and elaborate about exactly what goes on in that process.
Yeah, I'll let you guys kick it off. When do you get your rewards? What's the easiest way to think about it?
So for me, the easiest way to think is, let's say I delegate right now. So Epoch 215, we're in the final hours of Epoch 215. So it takes the current epoch plus 1 for your funds to become available for staking. So epoch 217, they'd be available. Now, once you run through epoch 217, if your pool is fortunate to perform well, at the end of that epoch, there will be a snapshot taken. And so the snapshot is taken, and then the following epoch runs its course, so 218. And when it rolls over to 219, at that point in time, you will then be available to receive your rewards. You don't have to do anything. They automatically get placed into your account.
That's really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great description. And, you know, a question I often get is, I don't see a transaction. I don't see I don't see them received. What's going on there? What kind of crazy dark magic is going on here? Why don't I see a transaction when I get them?
The thing that I've seen is that the Delis wallet will have within the reward or staking center, there's a tab that you click on that says rewards, and they'll show up in that zone. And so you have a second address, if you will. It's a reward address that it gets deposited or accounted for there and automatically put into your main account.
Yeah, I've heard it described as collected. So you won't see a received transaction in Daedalus, right? You won't see it received because it's not sent from anywhere. It's not like an airdrop like you see it. It's the protocol just creates it. It's almost like it's born inside your wallet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's born inside your wallet. Is that an easy way of putting it?
Yeah.
Of course. It'd be problematic if it wasn't, because then we'd have to be paying 0.17 ADA on each single transaction fee for each epoch, everyone. And that would be madness.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of weird when you first look at it and say, how did it get there? Where did it come from? It didn't come from anywhere. You know, it came from the Ouroboros god. Thanks for that description, William. That was really good on the epochs. And when do I get my rewards? All right. What's the next one?
I think we can wrap two of these questions together. And I guess we can start with Amanda, move on to William, and then Umed. So this is a subjective question, but there's two parts of this question. What is the best metric to go by for selecting a pool? And like, how does one find a reliable staking pool? What do you think?
So for me, if I was to put myself in a delegator's shoes, I would like poke around on the Ada Pools site or the Pool Tools site and just kind of scroll around to see how different pools' performances are. But really, now I don't know if it's just me, so this is just me talking. Like I want to see what they're kind of about, and so I would go to their website and kind of see how they present themselves and what they want to do or those kind of things, and then go and check back their how big their pool is and how saturated they are and all that kind of stuff. And then for me, like I, as an operator, try to have a way for them to talk to me. So like, how can you talk to your operator? Do they have like an easy way to talk to them, like a Telegram channel, or do they just have a Twitter thing or that kind of thing? So, so pool size, you know, that goes to saturation, and then what they're about on their website, and how can I talk to them and connect with them?
Okay. Thank you, Amanda. William?
That's probably the single most difficult question from my perspective. From, you know, you have almost 1,100 pools to choose from. You could use one filter mechanism of which pool has the most stake data. You could look at which pool has made the most ROA, return on stake, within the last 30 days or last epoch. Just like other financial advice, previous things that happened in the past don't guarantee future performance. However, the Cardano project is very reliable once you get over a certain threshold of stake, that you're more likely to make a block, and your next step would then be your fees. So the smaller pools help stabilize the network in effect. However, their pool fee, the minimum fee, the 340 ADA that every pool has to do, when you're really, really small, that starts to eat into the total rewards. And so some of the pools are doing unique things to compensate back, or zero minimum fee or margin. And so then that starts to teeter totter. So if are you going purely performance? Are you wanting to go with a smaller pool to help with the, per se, decentralization of Cardano? If you're in that thought process, you need to give us a little bit of time to move forward with the D parameter. I think we're going to 76% in this next epoch. That parameter has only a certain fraction of blocks. So that'd be 26% of the blocks being made by small stake pool operators in the public space. And so for me, navigating and trying to recommend, I think it really comes back to what Deadpool said is, it starts to become personal, who you connect with, who you can communicate with, who you feel comfortable with. Ultimately, you don't lose your money through staking. It's always in your wallet. So the only risk you really have is, will their pool create a block to earn you rewards?
Okay. Thanks, William. And Umed,
Yeah.
what is your criteria?
Yeah, my criteria would be, the first and foremost would be saturation. Because if a pool is close to saturation, it's the easiest thing you can observe by looking at pool tool, which is my favorite sort of tool from way back in ITN when we had zero sort of visibility. But yeah, so to Amanda's point, the saturation would be my number one sort of concern. And then I would look at, what kind of sort of, engagement that pool has within the community. And is it a known pool, or is it just a new pool? And that is not to say that new pools are, shouldn't be given opportunities, but if you go with somebody who's been in the space for a while, people might tend to sort of trust them more, maybe. I don't know. I mean, definitely that's my personal view again. I would not feel comfortable with pools that do not show their face, and that's just so it's because if you're not showing your face, what's going on there, right? Like you're running a pool, you cannot just be like a guy with a picture of somebody else or something like that. So it takes a great amount of courage to actually get out and be public with this stuff. So that speaks a lot to the person's commitment to the space, right? So you cannot be some guy who just packs up and goes, because nobody knows who he is. So that's the thing, and the price, price is an interesting thing, to be honest with you, because, I've done the calculations, and if you translate these fees into how much ROS they lose, right? The difference between a 1% pool, a 5% pool is just, fractions of a percent. Compare that to the daily swings in price of ADA. So we lost like what, 20%. It's like, or 20% gain, right? You compare these costs that you're trying to optimize, and to the underlying asset that you're holding is just basically being a penny wise and pound fooled in a sense, right? So you don't want to optimize them. You do want to optimize them, but you don't want to make them the primary reason why you choose a pool. And block production is very important, to be honest with you, but you have to also look at it from the point of view of statistical significance. Because if I'm a small pool and if I'm just starting, VRF is going to be volatile. Right? If you're small, your expected value, and I created that chart, and then ADA pools just adopted it. There's a normal distribution of how many blocks you produce, and the thing with VRF and uncertainty or variability, the lottery that VRF is that it's just like just think about it as a guy who's holding a gun, but it has a very unstable sort of hand. So sometimes it hits the target, and sometimes it goes to the left and goes to the right. So that's the best way I can think of. So if you're given an expected value of 5 or 6 blocks, you shouldn't basically expect that value every time. There could be days when the pool will naturally get assigned 2 blocks, And when they produce those 2 blocks, you wouldn't know whether they, as a stakeholder, you wouldn't know whether they actually got assigned that many blocks, or the pool operator is really bad and he was drinking or something and he got his pool got damaged. But in the beginning, you wouldn't know those differences. But over time, if he keeps doing that, then he will always lag behind his expected performance. And that's when you basically make a decision and say, okay, that now this data gives me actual, reason to move. But before that, when you see that one guy had, 200%, and then the next couple of epochs he was below 100%, it's not an indication of his skill set, because that's what the VRF does. And I'm sure that the big pools even feel it, but smaller pools feel it because we have the D parameter that assigns smaller number of blocks. And in terms of blocks themselves, the absolute value doesn't really matter. Really doesn't matter. It's the share of the blocks compared to the number of blocks that have been produced, compared to your stake share in the total number of staked ADA. That basically these are 2 sort of ratios that determine your actual rewards, and you wouldn't know it until the epoch actually ended. So to wrap it all up, I would say that it's the ratio of blocks produced versus expected blocks that needs to be produced that will give you the performance. So there's no difference between a pool that produces his fair share, which is 10 or 8, and a pool that produces 100 or 40, because it's all relative to how much they were supposed to produce.
You had touched on something real quick for, when do you have enough data to move on? And I would say, as a stake pool operator in the ITN, through mainnet candidates, the epochs were every 6 hours, every day, fast intervals. In a society such as now, we're looking for instantaneous feedback. Epoch of 5 days, I'm having a hard time as an operator, just being patient through that epoch to build up that historical data set. And so for a delegator trying to choose, I would say at a minimum 4 epochs, so 20 days. So you pretty much need to wait a month before having a real solid data set on performance before pivoting to a different location would be my recommendation.
I mean, statistically, you would want 30 epochs to actually, make sense out of it. And I applaud the effort of the data aggregators in the space that have created sort of the historical ROS, but those will still be volatile because VRF is volatile every epoch, and it will be more volatile for smaller pools, unfortunately. But as we decrement the D, more and more small pools will be able to actually have more granular way of showing their performance, because instead of getting 2 blocks, they will be getting 5 blocks, and 5 blocks in a if the VRF deviates, like you lose 5, you don't get 1 block. That's a less in percentage term loss if you don't get assigned that, than if you were assigned 2 blocks and then the VRF decided you'll get 1 block, and that's a 50% performance handicapped. But then again, it's a double-edged sword, because the next epoch or a couple of epochs down the road, you could get 5 blocks, and you were supposed to get like 1, right? And then and then the pool operators go on Twitter and say, look at us, we got 300%, something like that. So, but anyway.
Yeah. And Philippe, I would like to take one of the questions further down and bring it to now, because it fits really well right here.
Perfect.
And that question was what is the difference between the ROS on Pool Tool and ROA on ADA pools? Does anyone happen to know the difference? What's the difference between ROS on Pool Tool and ROA on ADA pools?
I
mean, definitely know.
My best is it. My best guess is just like return on stake or return on ADA. Like, it's just my best guess. I don't know.
No, Yeah, I definitely know that Pool Tool, Papacarp, has a methodology to compound it. So it's a compounded interest. Or I don't know what Ada Pool does though. I mean, so it's
Yeah.
basically compounded by 73. It's like you take your rewards divided by the amount of stake you have, and then you add one, and then all of that is compounded by 73. It's like the power of 73, and then you minus one, and then you multiply it by 100. I just gave you the formula, but anyway, sorry.
Just look at the website.
Yeah.
UMed does that in his head. Let Papa Carp's
Crystal clear.
do it for you. All right. So I had to look that one up because it was I think that was in the Cardano official is where that question came up. I had to look that up. So it looks like on Pool Tool, the ROS is epic per epic. Like right now it says 213 and 214. And how did that pool perform during 213 and 214? The ROA on ADA pools is annualized. That's return annualized.
Okay.
So on ADA pools, it's smoothed, or it's, if you were to annualize the data. So what you'll see on Pool Tool is you might see, for example, small pool might have in one epoch 0%, and in the next epoch 20%, right? Because they hit some blocks.
Yeah.
But if the ROA, if you look at the ROA and ADA pools, it might say 10% return.
Oh, I see what
so
they've
it's
done.
like a smoothing effect. Like you said, like you need 30 epochs worth of data or something like that.
Yeah, I think they take 30 days though. I think they have a 30-day average. So
Yeah, I think-
they just average 30 days worth of ROS, I think, and then that just gets rolled over. It's a rolling average. That's what we call it, actually.
Okay.
So, but I don't know if they compound it or not. Some people just annualize it by multiplying by 73, and Papa Carp basically uses exponentials. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, on ADA pools, you know how you can tell what that column means? At the very top, there's a little question mark.
Oh yeah, you can just
You click on it and it tells you what it is. So if anyone ever has a question about what does that parameter mean on ADA pools, click the question mark and it will answer the question for you. They did a really good job on that. I got to give them a shout out. All right. So
there's
I
a lot
pulled
of criteria that people can be looking at and stay longer periods than you initially expect. So don't jump ship after 1 or 2 epochs. Stay a little bit longer. And we said it at the beginning, people that are posting things on Twitter about how they have an elevated percentage 1 epoch, it's going to go down the next epoch. It's very random. So there's really nothing to brag about at this point in the game. And then also liked what Umed said at the beginning when he said, no face, no stake. I like that. So Rick, what do you think about hitting that next question?
Okay. So I grabbed one from down below. All right. So the next one was, hello. I started staking ADA a month ago and have not received any rewards. Can anyone explain to me why? So what do you guys think? What are the various reasons why someone would not receive rewards? We don't have to answer this person's question, but hypothetically, what are all the various reasons?
Well,
Go ahead. William touched on it before, where if it's a small pool, it could have been eaten by the minimum 348 fee. But like, does nothing show up in the rewards thing then? Like no notifications or anything to the stake, the delegator?
I think there's various reasons why.
Yeah, I think that, at its very worst, the guy who's staking should get something back, because I've looked at the numbers, and there isn't a scenario whereby a pool would eat, because the reward for 1 block, for instance, is higher than 340. So you'd always have something left. Even at this minimum sort of, if you take the pool that has very minimum stake, if it hits 1 block, it means that there's going to be rewards, and those rewards will be enough to pay the pool operator and give something to its stakeholders. Now, that is not to say that the next epoch they won't have anything, but that means that neither stakeholders nor the pool operator gets paid. But when they perform, when they get there has to be something. So my first reaction is that the person hasn't staked actually. So I don't know if he just opened up the Byron wallet and then thought it's delegated. I don't know if the delegation itself as an operation took place. Maybe that could be something wallet related if it was, so I that's that, because if you create a certificate of delegation, the way that the pool works is that you sign, you create an address, which is a staking address, and then you create a certificate which basically says, hey, network, I have this wallet tied to this staking address, and you attach it. You basically send it out to the network. So every time there is a block that has been created, then this wallet gets rewarded. So that's how, because everything is tracked by certificates. So there could be that problem. Or as Amanda, you said, maybe, it's a small pool and they never created a block. So that could be the third. Yeah.
I think what I would likely recommend would be number one, which pool? Go to Pool Tool, Ada Pools, so forth. Validate that they have or have not made a block. Second, go into your wallet, your Roy, Daedalus, go into the staking center. You should be able to see that your pool is listed as delegated to that specific pool. If you are not connecting those dots there, then that solves the problem. And it's likely within that realm.
I also had an issue. Someone sent me a question that they weren't receiving rewards, and they said that they delegated weeks ago, but it was actually only like a week ago, the following or a week or two ago, and the following epoch, they started receiving rewards. I know that time passes quickly in crypto, so 1 month feels like 1 year, but really understand the date that you're delegating, and then remember that it's going to take a couple weeks to start receiving rewards, even though you're earning rewards, but to see the balance. So a month ago, make sure that you have your time scale correct as well.
Yeah, and it's especially pertinent to the people who are just starting from, they haven't staked before at all, because that first timeline is long, right? You just basically have four epochs before you actually see your rewards. I think that are three.
If you
minimum 15 days,
yeah, 15 days. So those 15 days, if you're just starting, might look like you've done something wrong and whatnot. But if you just started, then that's how much time it will take.
And that's probably a plug for the 15 days. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, we have basically about 3 hours. Find a pool, delegate to it, do your research later. You can do it now if you need to, but at least get staked so that lag time starts for you.
Yeah. That's a good point, William. I as an easy rule of thumb, I just tell myself end of current epoch plus 15. Mm-hmm. That's when I get the rewards for that particular pool, because I've got like 6 different pools I'm delegating to. So I say, okay, when did I delegate to that one? Or switched it.
And the person could have actually started in the beginning of the epoch, right? If they stake in the beginning of the epoch, then it's kind of 20 days.
20,
right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
So it feels like 20 days, but yeah.
Correct.
All right. That leads us right into the next question. It says, is splitting up your stake a good idea? Does anyone do that? Or what do you think? Is splitting it up a good idea? Multiple pools?
I can take that question if you want, as a finance guy. So in the finance, there's this kind of, risk management framework that says, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? So, and that has to do with the fact that, the performance across different assets has different characteristics. Now, it's not the same, I would say, from a purely performance perspective. From a protocol perspective, like the protocol produces 7% or something like that at the maximum point. So you cannot just game the system and put your money in a place where you could earn 15, for instance. It doesn't work that way. So the maximum you can earn is set. But different pool operators might have different risk profiles, right? As I was talking to you, if there's a guy who doesn't pay attention to his pool and wakes up only one time at night, as opposed to people who wake up every 2 hours to check on their pool and check on the phone to see if they have notifications, then he might actually have an operational risk that that other people would not have. I mean, you can argue that you've automated everything, but down the road, I'll tell you that the pool operators that care, their efforts will show. So by spreading your stake to different pools, you minimize that risk that somebody didn't perform well. So that would be the only sort of kind of justifications. And as Amanda was saying, there are pools that you would like to support. I really love Deadpool, I have to say. I've said it already, but I really love Deadpool. I want you guys to be successful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, some people might find affinity with Deadpool. So, and they might just support them, in addition to whatever they're doing else. Yeah. I'll shut up now.
Thank you, Med.
I think the only thing you want to consider is kind of your individual risk management of your numerous wallets, numerous 24-word passphrases to keep your funds. And if you're methodical, if you can keep track of that sort of thing, no hesitation to split it if that's your motivation. If it's easier to just do one, set it, forget it. Both, I don't think you can go wrong as long as you're staking to a pool that's performing.
And I think it's a good idea to split it up too.
And eventually there's going to be a feature where you can split up your individual wallet within Daedalus. So there's going to be multi-pool delegation. So I don't know when that's going to come, but if you're doing this with anticipation that it won't come for years, that's probably not true. Maybe months away, maybe weeks away, who knows? So you'll be able to split it up eventually.
I'm actually very looking forward to that feature.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to help even out the pledge a little bit. It's going to benefit some smaller pools.
That's true.
Yeah. You know what the benefit is of splitting it up is you can put some people, I've seen some analysis where they have an optimal zone, like between 5 million and 150 million, for example, somewhere in that zone, you get different benefits. But if you put a chunk of pledge on a medium-sized pool and you'll get consistent blocks. I said pledge, I meant stake. You put a chunk there and then you put a chunk on a small pool. When they hit a block, you're doing all right, right?
Yeah.
Remember you did an analysis where if a smaller pool were to hit a block every other epoch, depending on the distribution, you could have a higher ROS. It's possible, or there was some, but was that when D was greater than 0.8, or is that still applied today? I'm not sure if it still applies.
Yeah, I mean, this luck actually applies to whether it's a small pool or not, because what happens every epoch is that you are getting a decreased rewards. Every epoch, there is a less number of rewards being distributed. So I would say that all else equal, let's say take two pools, right? A and B, and the pool A got lucky in the first epoch, right? They produced all their blocks, or and then the pool B, produced 50% of their blocks. Even if after that one epoch they produced similar number of blocks, the pool B that got penalized, for instance, might never catch up to the pool A, because of the fact that the pool A had so much of a leeway lead. But yeah, I mean, there are cases where you could argue that I was luckier, and but the protocol itself, the way that the VRF works, at least the chance part of it equalizes. Yes, you will never get those rewards that were in the beginning, that's for sure. So there's kind of a loss there if you were not lucky. But I haven't done a very detailed analysis, but I can tell you intuitively that there will be a small gap between the ones that actually got a lot of blocks in the first few epochs and the guys who were not lucky to get them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, thank you for that, Umed. All right.
Yep.
We ready to go to the next ones? We're approaching the hour. We'll be there in about
Yes.
10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, let's knock these out.
Okay. All right. There's a very specific question. I'm going to skip that one for now. And the next question is, do I have to unstake from my previous pool? Do you have to unstake? How does it work?
So I want to say that they mean undelegate. So maybe change delegation. So I think in the Daedalus wallet, if you choose a different pool, it'll bring up that you've already delegated this pool. Do you want to change to this pool? Undelegate, click, and then you delegate to the new pool that you choose. But I think the term unstake is not correct. So it's like redelegate or undelegate.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it save you a transaction fee to just redelegate because you're just doing one thing?
I
don't-
think so.
No?
A transaction fee like that 2 ADA fee?
I don't think
Or-
you get charged the 2 ADA
Yeah,
again.
yeah, it's just that one time, and then
2 the first
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and then that 0.17
Yeah.
subsequent. Yeah.
What is that 2 ADA? Who could
I mean, I read that it's like it's just a small deposit to put your stake down.
Okay. Because that was a very, very common question at the beginning was, why did it charge me 2.17 ADA, right?
Mm.
I should have had that in a list. Okay, so let's make that the question. Why does it charge me 2.17 ADA? That's only the first time, is that right?
The 2 is just the first time.
It's a deposit for the staking address.
Yeah. It's like a toll booth tax. In order to get on the highway, you got to pay your 2 ADA, and then you can start delegating. So
Okay.
Except you get it back, right? When you undelegate.
if you unregister that address,
Yeah.
but I don't think a lot of people are going to do that. So there's going to
Yeah.
be a lot of 2 ADA sitting in escrow somewhere.
Imagine that pool, the toll booth that
Yeah.
makes you stop and gives you your $2 back.
Haven't used it
Traffic
all.
congestion. Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. So you want your $2 back, you got to stop. People are going to be like, nah, ain't nobody got time for that.
Wait until ADA is like $50, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what if it's worth it?
We'll
Then
be
you'll
doing that. 10 years from now, we'll be going back and saying, where's that address with 2
I
8
know.
in it? We're going to be looking
Yeah.
at it. Got to get that 2 8 out of there.
I know. Reminds me of that story of, was it Ireland or Scotland? That's this guy mined a lot of Bitcoin and then he threw his computer in the dumpster or whatnot. And then
Yeah.
he managed to convince or wanted to convince the city to dig it out because it was $60 million worth of Bitcoin or something
Yeah.
back in the day.
I heard he hired a contractor and said, we'll split it. If you find it, I know the password, you find it, and we'll split the loot whenever you find it.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. So a couple more questions. We'll wrap it up and check chat. Philippe,
Okay.
you ready to?
Yeah. Do you want to hit the Reddit questions or do you want to do the pledge question?
Let's go to the Reddit question.
Okay.
Because we're approaching the hour. This one's more pool oriented.
Okay.
3-part question. So it's kind of like I'll just get to the question. It says, first, how do you feel about the rate at which D is being dropped? Is it too fast or too slow? So is D coming down too fast or too slow?
I mean, like, I'm not into analytics like Umed, but I want to have faith in the big people who made the decision that they're doing it for a reason to just slowly give us control. But I can also pass it to William and Umed to see what they think.
It's one of those systematic processes, and so if it's sporadic, jumping all over the place, that's probably largely the wrong decision. We're going down 2% every epoch, and so by November 1st, being at a D level 50, so 50% centralized, 50% on the public space for block creation, that works. Can you do it faster? Sure. Do you need to do it faster? Are there things you'll learn in the process of being a little bit more methodical? Absolutely. And it's working. So.
No, I would say that, I have talked to IOHK scientists. I do talk to them regularly, and they are a very, very bright individual bunch of people. And whenever they make a decision, it's not to the detriment of every, pool operator or whatnot. They do take these things into consideration. But from what I gather, talking to them, network security takes precedent over everything else. And because if you don't have the network or network security, you don't have rewards. Your rewards are secondary to that. So you have to have a system that works. And in order to see that it works, you need data. You need time to actually see how things play out. Yes, they chose to, the 2% per epoch of decrement. And I agree with them. It's the right decision, and we've had two different sort of versions in this mainnet, I think, or three. All right. This is eight. We started with 18.
3.
And there will be times when we need to basically see how things play out, and what they decide. I'm fully on board because I trust them. I really do. I've talked to Lars on regularly. I know other scientists, and when they explain why they do these things, especially Duncan Coots, when we have calls with him, it makes absolutely a lot of sense. There was a lot of questions, for instance, about why did we have in ITN a situation where the rewards were split. If somebody didn't make a block, you would get more rewards, right? And there was a very good explanations to that. And you go back to home and then you start thinking that these guys really think about the protocol before they make a decision. So I've have deep respect, deep level of respect for these people. So I'm not going to second guess their decision.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go with just right. I agree with Amanda and say, yeah, these smart people figured it out. I'm going to go with it. I don't want to
basically said the
it.
same thing, but with a lot of words, I think.
Yeah. I don't want to overthink it.
Yeah.
All right. So there was the next part. Second part of the question. When exchanges offer staking services, how can small operators stay competitive? Or is this as not a big a deal as everyone makes it? What do you guys think?
Good question.
Speculation? I have an opinion on this.
What's your opinion, Rick?
Yeah, what's your opinion?
I think it's going to be based on preference. If you do like big team, little team kind of thing. And I think what you'll find is the community pools with the greatest amount of pledge are going to be competing with Bittrex. And I'll give you an example. Like Qcoin already has a form of, I call it pseudo staking available, where they distribute a reward like every day. Correct? If I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm not a perfect human being, but so you get like a little drug fix every day. Right? You get, like we got used to on ITN. But I don't know if it's commensurate. Like you wait 5 days with a community pool and you get your full payout, right? Based on the number of blocks created. So because Qcoin's a big exchange, they probably do some marketing magic and stuff like that to try to suck people in. So I think it's more like pseudo staking, but I think the real staking on exchanges will come when exchanges like Bittrex that have massive amounts of ADA also have the ability for their customers to stake to any pool. Like if you were to go on an exchange and say, I can only stake to this exchange, at first people might say, oh, that's cool. Like I get consistent rewards and that exchange is accountable for it. But over time, they're going to say, I really don't have a lot of options. I'm kind of stuck here. So that's one thought process. Another thought process is people who like to keep their ADA on exchanges already keep their ADA on exchanges. So another option is there's no impact to the community pools because right now there's a ton of aid-on exchanges before Shelley, before we decentralized. Just because there's Shelley, that doesn't mean they're going to take it off the exchange. So I think most of the aid that's on exchanges is going to stay on exchanges because people like it to be on an exchange, and that's it. And so bottom line, minimal impact to the community pools. I think the workforce is going to continue to be the community pools, and the exchanges are not going to have as big of an impact as we think.
And the exchange will have to have the one-to-many at some point in time. They're not going to create as a couple thousand pools themselves to cover all the funds in their exchange. The other side is you really have to look at this from we're very much a niche right now. There are tons of people that are investing in the 401ks or other money, and their user experience is log into TD Ameritrade, buy a stock or a mutual fund, and let it sit there. So when they come into the segment, a lot of people will be on the exchange by default mechanism, because the hurdle to getting to the individual pool, how do you open up dead lists? How do you handle your own keys? The exchange takes care of some of that at risk of you don't have control of your keys, you don't have control of your funds. It just depends upon where your comfort level lies.
Yeah, I mean, both of you actually made really good points in this regard. I have to say that, Rick, I'm very impressed with your thought process, because it actually validates some of the things, that I've been expecting. Because as you say, if staking comes to exchanges, there's zero, especially on the reward side, there's zero effect on pools, because we are remunerated based on the total stake, whether it's staked or not. It has zero effect when that stake becomes staked, so to say. So yeah, and you have to realize why the exchanges do that, right? They seek liquidity, and they make money on the trades. So when they offer you whatever good deals that they offer, you have to think about who's paying for that. And if you're a guy who just sits there and doesn't do anything with his money, then maybe you will get some benefits. But if you're an active trader, you will be paying for that somehow. So somebody will be paying for that. That's for sure. And they will tap into your liquidity. Maybe, I don't know, this industry is not regulated. They could be trading against you, like you are thinking that you're getting the best price, but no, you're not going to get the best price. They're going to have their cut there. And you'll be thinking that you had 0%. No, you didn't have a 0%. So, people who do business or understand how things work probably wouldn't put their, money there. But to your point, William, I'll say that we have to make a collective effort to introduce Daedalus and Yoroi to the masses, so that it is like opening a TD Ameritrade and putting your money in there. No, I know that at this point it's kind of cumbersome in the sense that you have to remember 12 words or 15 words or whatnot. But I don't think we're too far away from a day when either you basically have a one secure key, FIDO 2, a compliance secure key that gives you the password and everything, or at least maybe you have custody in the bank, where part of your key is in the bank, and then the bank will provide you the interface to actually stake with any pool. So those are the two places where I think we could focus on the collective efforts to push this industry forward, because I would hate for exchanges to be our interface or to represent us, because it's just contrary to decentralization completely. Mm-hmm. And
yep. Thank you, Umed. Hey, we got a real-time question in chat. Then we'll get to the last question here. Create the Imaginable asks, do I have 1 day and 4 hours to switch pools? I think what they're asking is, when is the end of the current epic?
I think it's in 1 day, right?
It's tomorrow. Tomorrow at 5:44 p.m.
Yeah, we still have time. Yeah.
Okay, so you got 1 day and 4 hours.
Yeah.
So it's
correct.
All right. So 21,
so I was wrong.
Yeah. So 21:44 UTC on September 7th.
We have 28 hours, 19 minutes, 19 seconds.
Thank you, you bet.
I'm looking at
Well,
pool
Dave,
tool.
did you look at on Pool Tool or Daedalus?
Yes, I did. Pool tool.
All right. Last question.
Yeah, go for it, Rick.
Okay. Lastly, what would you like to see IOG, Mergo, and the Cardano Foundation do in order to help support small community pools? What would you like to see them do?
Maybe Amanda can take that one.
Okay. It would be nice if they would, when they're going to take their pools off and distribute maybe a little bit into smaller pools. I get this like imagery of like a defibrillator, kind of like, help me because I'm dying. But if they were in the smaller pools, I don't know, maybe 5 million or something for the smaller pools, at least that would give them a fighting chance to enter into the lottery. And then once they are given a chance to make a block or show that they're actually able to perform and make a block, it shows delegators that this pool is not broken and it's capable. Stay there for a few epochs so that they can perform at their best before moving on to others. But distributing to the smaller ones and so that they can live, that would be helpful.
Amanda,
Very
do you
well
have
said.
Amanda, what do you think the process should be? Because there are 1,000 pools and counting. How randomized should the process be? Because I'm sure that, as we grow, there are going to be more and more, and it's probably going to hit 2,000 pools at some point.
Mm-hmm.
How do they pick how do they choose? How should they choose?
I mean, that's a good question. I don't want to answer that. So, I mean, like maybe small pools like apply. Maybe they'll just put out like a call, like, do you, and then they just do so many pools every few epochs, epochs, whatever. But yeah, like I know that the Spocker group is putting stuff together too. Like they're trying to make a list of who they want to recommend. But also I don't really know how they're putting that list together either. So, but yeah, like the pool operators can just be like engaging and just paying attention to that time and make sure that they catch that wave if it comes.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, picking which one to delegate to is going to be difficult for them. I think the number one barrier they have right now is the logistics of performing 1,000 delegations, or basically taking 2 billion ADA and parsing it out into 1,000 wallets, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a serious risk with doing that. And I think that's why multi-pool delegation is extremely high priority right now on being able to delegate one wallet to multiple pools. That is a high priority.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts, William?
So I think I would stretch away from what they could do specifically for me to maybe what they could do for the community. And there's several other cryptocurrencies that are third generation blockchain, different protocols, helping create a concise elevator pitch of why Ouroboros is better than, or helping the marketing side for people to identify with Cardano, creating your tribe. We are Cardano. What does that mean? Getting people into the ecosystem. That's by and far going to have the biggest effect in the long run. And all of the small pools, large pools will be fine. We just need the community to move together.
Yeah, if the value of ADA rises, then the K parameter can rise. You can't just arbitrarily raise the K parameter. If you raise the K parameter, that will support smaller pools. And when we say smaller, just pools of lower stake. So I think that's a good big picture view, William. I like that. There's, market the entire system. I think it's also important for them to support smaller pools because they're holding pre-mined ADA, right? So until D equals 0, I think there should be a delegation rotation of that pre-mined ADA between Emergo, IOHK, and the Cardano Foundation, it should extend for some period of time past D equals 0. So I don't know how they should do the rotation, but I got a pretty good idea of how long it should go on for. And I'm thinking it should go on for at least 3 months after D equals 0. And then after that, stake it to your own pools or whatever. I don't care. But
Rick,
as long as you're sitting on pre-mined data, it's a good idea.
I
Yeah.
agree with you, Rick, but I have a follow-up question because IOG is moving their funds to Coinbase custody at the end of the year. So this access to the liquidity of ADA to actually multi-pledge delegate, it's probably going to expire at the end of the year because I don't foresee Coinbase custody holding IOEG funds and then delegating to small pools. They're going to maximize the returns for their client. And I think that as time progresses and the price increases, more and more of that locked ADA or that ADA that IOG controls or Emergo or the Cardano Foundation is going to be less accessible to the community. So I don't know what the long-term viability of that is.
Yeah. Well, I think that, the community, the three entities, it's the Cardano Foundation, Emergo, and IOHK, especially in the beginning, need to support the network and put aside, sort of their return maximization. Because if you have a network where majority of stake is controlled by 3 or 4 entities, you have a problem. And add to that the exchanges, then you have a real problem. So in order for this network to survive, you kind of have to nurture the small pools so that they get known, they get exposure to actually attract on their own and be sustainable. And once that happens, then they can pull out their stake. They will always be able to make more money, but they have one shot in terms of making this thing work. Because if the ecosystem dies in terms of, we have 1,000 pools and we are blessed, to be honest with you, in that respect. Yes, we might have 2,000 pools. Eventually, we will have to converge into a number that will be good depending on the level of K, whether it be 500 or 1,000. But until we get there, we need to support pools. It's a good question logistically how you do it, but I definitely know that we need to do it, because otherwise you end up with all these other coins that have like 4 or 5, 6 players actually taking up the whole space. Because in Ouroboros, in Cardano, you're not limited by how many pools you create. So and nobody knows if you're behind pool A, pool B. You could just rebrand, and the same low fees or whatever, like 1%. You could just basically name it something else and run it and then market it, and when you do that, you effectively centralize yourself, or at least create an oligopoly, which is not good.
Yeah. And Umit, I would like to finish this question up by kind of turning the question around. I think G, Emergo, and CF, what can they do in order to support small pools? Can you still hear me okay? I keep getting bad internet hits. But
okay.
Is marketing. I think we got the tech side down. Okay. Do the pool operators know how to operate pools? Yes, they do. Is the software stable? Yes, it's stable. This Haskell is so stable. Anyone who operated Jormungandr, you probably have post-Jormungandr stress disorder. You're just waiting for your node to crash, right? And then you realize, you know what, on Haskell, my node hasn't crashed yet. It just keeps running and running and running. All right. So what do small pool operators need the most? They need marketing skills, because right now they don't have many. The weakest point I see in the entire pool operator system is marketing skills. And I'm going to give you an example. I see pool operators who put their pool ticker in their Twitter handle, right? Then they go on Twitter and they complain and they complain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like the worst marketing you could possibly do, is to put your ticker in your name, or your entire name is your ticker, and then you go on Twitter and complain. That's like, nobody does that.
It doesn't sell. Yeah.
It's the reverse of marketing. So if IOG and Emergo wanted to help, is teach the pool operators how to market, because that's the weak point. We have 1,000 pool operators. We've got 1,000 techies, but
And
we
what-
only got 50 or 100 marketers out there. People who use art, they use music, they use humor, they use positivity, like Deadpool.
Yeah.
That's a funny Twitter account right there. Right. So marketing, that's how IOG Mergo CF can help, is hold a marketing workshop. Here's how you market your pools. You know, I did a video on it, on how to market your pool, but I was pretty brutal, right? It's a brutal video. People probably watch it and go, man, that guy's a jerk. I don't want to watch his video. But that's how you can help. Spreading the stake is one thing, but that's limited. Like Philippe said, it's going to Coinbase custody, and they're going to pull the Baba out eventually. Pop, right? You know, they're going to pop the training wheels off. You're on your own. That's going to happen in 6 months, or, you know, sometime in the near future. But marketing is the key. How do you sell your pool? Why should people stake to it? Because people want stability. So, well, people like different things. Some people like to game it. They say, "Oh, if I pick this one, I get this. If I pick that one," some people like that, and some people don't. Some people say, "Hey, I just want to set it and forget it and walk away, and I don't want to worry about it."
Well, I will tell you that the people who are jumping pools, they're just, basically chasing ghosts. It doesn't
Yeah.
make a difference, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless you have 30 days, 30 epochs of data.
I would like to caveat that if you are changing pools every epoch, you are doing yourself a disservice, because you
Yes.
don't know how that pool performed. You will not know how that pool performed until the end of the epoch plus 15 days. So if you're switching pools every epoch, you are switching pools without knowing why you did.
You might
Unless
just-
unless it was 0 blocks, and you'd be like, okay, that one's a dead one. I'm gonna go. That one's not working. I'm gonna go to some different
0
one.
blocks for a while, and justified 0 blocks. If you have 50 million in your pool, and then you produce 0 blocks, that's a red flag right there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certain things that are quite obvious, and
Yeah.
we're good on that.
Rick, we're hitting that time. So do you want to wrap it up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I want to thank the 3 pool operators for joining. I'm going to give you the last words. Thank you to Old Pa Sync, by the way, in the comment section, holding down the comment section, answering questions. We appreciate you. So, Umed, we're going to start with you, and then William, then Amanda. Do you have any last words for the listeners and viewers of the Cardano Effect?
Yes, I would say that just do your homework and support the pools that you find some affinity with. This is a long game. Everybody's here for a long haul, and enjoy the ride. It's going to be great.
William?
So Sage Cardano staking, you're more than welcome to delegate with us, but at the same point in time, there's hundreds of other operators that are awesome. The community is wonderful to work with. If you want to stake with us, that's great. At the same point in time, the barrier to making a decision, just do something. Give yourself those 15 days or more to reaffirm that you made a good decision, and then move on if you need to. But it's better to stake than to just sit and miss the rewards.
Amanda?
Yeah, so again, I run Deadpool, and I'm really active in the community and on Twitter. My pool is 2%, and I really love my Telegram channel and talking to the people that delegate in my pool. We have a good time in there. So come join my Twitter and join my Telegram.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this live stream. We had Amanda from Deadpool, William from Sage, and Umed from Skylight Pool. So we appreciate you, and join us again next week. We have a couple guests that are going to be appearing on the Cardano Effect, pre-recorded episodes. We're working through those right now. So yeah, we're happy to bring you some new content, and thanks for spending your Sunday with us. We appreciate you. Until the next time. Bye, everyone.